My name is Karin Overgaard. I come from Denmark. I am 69 years old. I started in DNS in 1972 when I was 22 years old. So,
and why did you choose DNS at that time?
At that time I was in a period in my life where I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I studied on the Royal Academy because I thought I was going to be an architect. Then I was not happy about the way we studied and the whole environment. It was very political, but it was a lot of talking, and I thought it was like, I felt it was not for me. Then I tried some other studies to study at the university. Then I realized I wanted to work with people, and then I had a job in some schools, in a free school and some other places to earn money, but then I also started to think maybe I should work with people instead. And then I found DNS because one of my friends, she said to me that if she was in my age, if she was in my situation, she would find this interesting. But the main thing was actually because I met some of the DNS students and some of the students from the Traveling Folk High School in Copenhagen in what's called the EU Caravan, where they had, I think, 10 buses traveling around in Denmark and telling people about the situation in EU. So I met some people there, and I really liked to be with these people. So I would say, if you ask me why, it was not to become a teacher, but it was because I really liked the people and the environment and the way that I felt like I could just be myself.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So.
Okay. And how did being in DNS affect you?
I think that my time in DNS, which was 4 years at that time, and it was recognized by the Danish Ministry of Education, so I got like a proper certificate to be, I could teach in the public school. Honestly, this was not my aim when I started, because I didn't like school myself. When I was a student, I was very much bullied, and I didn't have much confidence because there was a lot of knowledge I lacked because I was bullied, so I was not thinking so much about learning from the school. So I can say it changed me in some different ways. For example, it changed that I became a teacher. And I've been a teacher now for almost 40 years. And it changed my life in the way that I traveled in the world. We traveled by bus to India at that time.
Yeah.
We drove all the way through, Turkey was kind of the first country where we made investigations, and we visited the people in the mountains, Kurdish people.
Yes.
Because in school I never heard about Kurdistan, and suddenly we are in something they call Kurdistan and meet some Kurdish people. And this has opened my eyes for some things in history. Then we went to Persia or Iran, and all the way, and suddenly you find oranges in the trees in Pakistan, and then you come to India, it's 40 degrees, and it was amazing travel. Yeah. And this 4 months travel actually changed a lot in my life, because I met the hospitality all over the world, and this experience has been with me since. Very big impact on me.
Oh, wow.
To meet the most poor people and the richest people in India, and the caste system, and a lot of things which taught me that you cannot trust what you read in the media, you cannot trust what you read in the paper. Even the books are sometimes not telling the truth, because, for example, we visited on the way back, we visited Lebanon, and we were in some Palestinian refugee camp, and we saw that what we read in the books and what they told us in school was really not the reality, what we saw. And actually one of those camps we visited was bombed short after by Israeli planes. So again and again and again we face this reality that what you learn in school or what you read in the paper, see in the TV, it's not enough. It's not full truth. You have to go and see by yourself. So you can say it changed my life in the way that it has had impact on what I've done the rest of my life.
Yeah, so that leads me on to what would you say are some of the big differences between then and now, both in DNS and differences you consider important through your experiences that you learned through DNS?
Unfortunately, the world is not better. Actually, there's a lot of poverty and a lot of problems in the world. What I have learned, because when we were traveling, we were thinking to come back and do something, and actually together with the teachers, together with many other people, we started to do some development aid. So in that way, you can say something changed. Yeah, we were all Danish students at that time, Danish or Swedish students. So that has changed now, it's more international, Europeans in DNS. Yeah. And the education has changed, but I mean, the world has changed so much that I think studies were not the biggest thing and the most busy thing for us, and today it's more demanding, I think, the studies in DNS. But what has changed in the world today, which makes me very happy, it is that together with a lot of teachers and other people, we have started UFF Humane, which has now developed to be that we are working together with millions of people in many countries in the world. So you can say the whole idea of DNS was the necessary teachers training college. Is also, this idea is now in Africa, many countries in Africa, and in India there's tens of thousands of students studying and learning to be teacher in another way. So in that way it's very encouraging, I think.
Yeah, that's good. It's just a side question here, which I've just thought of. I don't know if it'll be included. Am I right in thinking that Humana almost came out of DNS? It was set up by DNS graduates? It came out of the travelling folk high school students travelling. Okay. And then DNS also travelled, and then we decided together with our teachers, we and the travelling folk high school students, to start UFF, to collect second-hand clothes, to send it to Africa and to send. So it was coming out of this, because you can say the travelling folk high school was on the basis that those who started the travelling folk high school, they themselves were traveling in the world for 2 years, and when they came back they realized they were changed, and they found out what changed them was actually meeting the people in the world and living with the people, seeing their problems, seeing their what they are struggling with, their dreams, their visions and so on. Yeah. And from that they decided when they came back that it was not enough to write books or to tell others about it, but they wanted to give many other young people the chance to travel in the world. Yeah. So I think 20,000 or more people have been traveling since in this connection, and travel in the way that you go for meeting the people, living with the people. So yes, it started from this, and then it we were part of, when we were public school teachers, we started a little shop together with some people in the town where we lived, and sold second-hand clothes, and learned a lot from that. We made learned a lot from that. So Humana was one of the biggest examples of something to come out from. Started in 1976, and Cool. And do you have perhaps a favourite or most remembered story from your time in DNS, whether it's from your Africa travel or European reality period, or as a teacher, teaching practice? What I said about traveling on the way to India, to come out in a small village, and the way people received us. We came to, on Christmas Eve, we were standing on the road. We didn't want to celebrate Christmas, so we were just sitting in our bus studying on our way to Delhi, in India, Punjab. We came to Punjab, and we had our bus standing there Christmas Eve, and somebody come and knock on the door and the window and say, "Hello, who are you, and why are you here in the bus? It's Christmas Eve." And we said, "Oh, we were studying," so we were very busy studying, yes. And then they disappeared, and a short time after they came again, and they came with this huge pot of Indian tea, you know, with milk and spices and everything, and said, it's Christmas Eve, you have to celebrate, here's some tea for you. And the next day we went to visit this village, and we were staying there for, I think, a week or something like that. We went out with the daughter in the school and with the children and out in the field, and so that I really remember. So if I have a cup of Indian tea, I'm back in 1972. It's right like that, yes.
Wow.
But then we've had very challenging periods, because, for example, the period of do what you find most appropriate to do. It was a big challenge, because it was yourself doing this, going out to decide what's the plan, and I was very confused and very in doubt about what was the right thing to do. But I had a very interesting period. We went hitchhiking to Norway, one friend, one teammate and me, to find out and investigate about the Norwegian oil, the black gold of Norway, to learn about that. It was a big experience, hitchhiking up through, sailing. We were hitchhiking with a boat along the Norwegian coast.
Hitchhiking on boats?
Yes, it was really, yeah, because we found out we wanted to hitchhike along the coast, but it was impossible, because the Norwegian coast is like this, you know, with all this fjord.
Yeah.
So we realized, okay, then we have to go by boat. And then we went down to the harbour, and we got a lift with a boat that's traveled with goods, you know, along. So we were in all the different places. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And for free, we got a lift for free. What was one of the things, the challenges, was that it was safe in our bus. And then to get out of the environment and go out of the bus and go out and meet the people was a big step for us, yes.
Yeah.
So our teacher was kind of kicking us a little bit out to learn about what's happening in the world. And so we went out, and at one time she went away with one of the students on my team, and they were sitting in a cafe, and they made a song called Ud af røret, which is a song about how to go out and get things moving. So they came back and they were giving us this song, and it was a kick in our backside to go out and learn about what's happening in the world. Then we had challenging tasks like putting on the chains on the snow and in the mountains and so on. But it was amazing. Yeah, we traveled over this Kite Pass where there was snow, but we were getting very good at it. So we ended up being able to put the chains on in 4 minutes, I remember. And then there was one time where one of the teachers in the other team, Kirsten, she was my age, or I think maybe even younger than me, and I saw her once changing the tire, and I thought, I can also do it. So, you know, like this, always see your teacher as a good example, and you're thinking, she can do it, I can also do it, yes.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah, go for it.
Good, thank you.
Then I think it was a very big challenge to be in DNS, because we had a very close comradeship and we were helping each other, and then to come out and work in the public school. And I was used to on DNS that if I had a problem I could speak about it, and then you come in the public school and suddenly the teachers in the public school will say, you have problems, you know. I know they had the same problems as me, and I expected we can just talk about it to find out together. But sometimes you couldn't, because they didn't want to admit that they had problems. It was, okay.
Yeah, and what did you use your education for after DNS?
Yeah, I was, as I said, public school teacher for 3 years. Then we started a free school for small children. And then after 3 years, we started Namibia Vocational School. So we worked with 100 Namibians coming from the refugee camps in Angola to be educated in Denmark. So
this was in Denmark,
yes,
but
so
for the refugees?
100 refugees from Namibia. So I was teaching water techniques and science and a lot of other things. It was very interesting. I learned a lot also. But it was an eye-opener for this whole question between people in Africa and the culture difference, and yeah, it was a big experience. And after that I started to work with the Traveling Folk High School, and then I was a teacher and headmaster for 35 years, I think, in Traveling Folk High School in Denmark and in England.
Yeah. And this is the Travelling Folk High School that is now what we call here the DI program.
Yes,
Take 10 volunteers
yes.
program.
So I was training young people and sent them to Africa, where they worked and lived out in the middle of the bush or something like that, to train them to be humble and hardworking and respecting the people in Africa. It was an amazing job. I've been extremely happy about that.
Yeah.
So, and I think what DNS has given me is that you can, you can say I'm not afraid of anything. I won't say of course I'm afraid of the climate change and the future because it's a worry, but I'm not afraid of some tasks we have or something, because I know if we stick together we can find a solution. It's both in practical things and we can find solutions, and that's what I brought with me from DNS, kind of never give up attitude, I think.
Yeah,
yes.
There's always a way to find the solutions.
So I'm very, very happy that I had the chance to study in DNS.
Yeah. Your fellow DNS graduates from your team, can you share a bit about what they have been up to since they graduated?
Yeah. I know many of them became teachers in the public school, and some of them became headmasters in schools, in public schools, and worked also, some of them in some kind of teachers' unions and things like that. And then I worked together with one who's a headmaster in England in CICD, training volunteers, and she's done that for many years. Then I have one former DNSer who is now working in India. He started up Humana in India, and they are training tens of thousands of Indian teachers now, so it has a big impact. And I have one who's working with partnerships for Humana also, to work with raising funds for the work in the third world countries to help to fight HIV/AIDS and to build up farmers clubs and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And we have one, she's in Laos, working there.
Where?
In Laos.
Yeah.
Working
Where
in
is
Laos,
this?
yeah, growing bananas. Laos in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's very many different. Yeah. When we had finished our education, then we discussed with each other when we met. We said we would make like a club in the like. I know in DNS they have this European reality period, and they are doing some of the same. But we started in Høje-Taastrup. That's one of the ghetto areas in Copenhagen, and those of my teammates who lived there, I think they were 5 or 6 living there, being public school teachers. They started a club, and they started one in Odense, and we started one in Kalundborg, and one in Fredericia, and so on. So many of us who had been on DNS, we started this kind of community where we were living, to starting in, for example, Vollsmose. One group was living in Vollsmose in Odense, and they started like Vollsmose-klubben. And they had a big bus, and this experience from traveling by bus, they brought it with them. In Fredericia, one of my teammates, Pia, she just passed away due to cancer, but she was very, very loved and very known in that area, because they had this club in Fredericia where they had a bus and they were traveling out with the kids and all kind of groups to see what's happening in the world. And we did that in Kalundborg also. So it meant a lot, because we had our job in the public school, and we had our UFF shop, and then we made this club, and that means we also sometimes had the children that we were teacher for coming in with their grandmother or somebody in the shop and say, oh, this is my teacher, she's selling second-hand clothes, you know, or coming to the clubs in the evening. And it meant, for example, I had problems with one class. I had a big problem. I had 3rd, 4th grade in handicraft, you know, when you're knitting and sewing and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was 2 hours from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, the last lessons, which was a nightmare. Wednesday afternoon, I think it was a nightmare, because the kids, they were, I mean, come on, they were tired, and I had almost 30 kids in one time, and I should teach them to knit and or sew or do these kind of things. So it was very, very difficult. They were doing all kind of things, playing with the things and racing on the sewing machines or whatever, and I was like desperate. But then one of my friends in this Karin Overgaard club, I invited her because I had her boy in the school, and then she came, and she was this big lady sitting in the middle of the class, knitting and doing all kind of things, and then she was like a magnet for the children, so they were sitting around her, like learning from her what she could do, because she was really good at it, and then I could be with the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I used my education for, not to be afraid of asking for help and
Yeah.
to stick together with people. So
What advice would you give to future DNSs?
go for it. Go for it, and then don't give up, and get the most out of it. And I think for development instructors and for DNSs, I think the problem we have today is how to be in the moment here where you are.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy with all the media we have that you can be half present.
Mm.
And if you're half present, you will not get the full out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide with yourself, this is 3, 4, 5 years, I spend it, I get the most out of it, and I will use it the best I can, then you can get a lot out of it. And if you're all the time putting everything on a scale to say, oh, maybe I had a bad day, or I want to leave, maybe I have a good day, then I'll stay and I'll find more, forget about it. Go for it, full steam, then you can get a lot out of it, and you will. I think Paulo Coelho has a very beautiful poem, I think you should find and put in this. It's about choosing your way, because you will always come to a way where there's a possibility to choose,
Yeah.
right or left, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And you choose. And when you have chosen, don't think about, oh, I made the wrong choice, I should go back and choose the other one, because then you waste a lot of time in your life. Go for it, and later on there will be another time where you have to choose. So go for it and follow the path and make it your path.
Yeah.
He also has a very beautiful poem about climbing a mountain, where it's like you walk and you see new things, and all the time things changes. Things you think was near, it's far away, and so on. It's very beautiful. Yeah, you should study those ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.